This is what I got. This is what I love. I love this thing. Let me show you guys my rig so you can see what we're looking at here. I've got a Marshall Code 50. I've got my own personal tool setting on it. What I feel matches Adam Jones. So a little story. The title of this video is gonna pretty much say it all. I had a Gibson. I had a Les Paul. Loved that guitar, and I traded it in. I traded it in for an ESP. So, why? A lot of people are gonna say, why? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you give up such a superior guitar and for something that we feel is less? Now, that's a lot of purists. So what I'm going to say is, before we start, you are entitled to your opinion. You are entitled to disagree with me. Please don't leave hateful shit in the comments, because honestly, like, A, I'm not going to respond to it because I hardly ever check this. B, it just shows your level of maturity and your level of being able to communicate with someone that has a differing opinion on yours. So here we go. I traded my 2012 Gibson Les Paul Studio T in wine red, or actually I guess that's faded, for a 2019 ESP. And everybody's going to ask why. Why would you do that? So here we go. So around my birthday in December, my 40th birthday, my wife wanted to do me up right. My dad had passed away earlier that month, and I had a guitar that I left at the house where my dad and I had an argument when I was younger. I had the Marshall Marshall cabinet, plexi head, and made plenty of noise. My dad, and he grew up in the 20s. You just had to know my dad. He was a kind of rough guy. And when he was the kind of person that was like, hey, when he said, something was supposed to be this way, this is the way that it had to be. And I didn't follow that. And so my dad and I ended up getting in a disagreement. And dad, like me, unfortunately, me like my dad, I have he had a temper. And he ended up snapping the neck. It was an old Ibanez RG. I put it in the case because I didn't know at the time, internet wasn't very big. This was like 1997, 1998. I didn't know that you could replace necks, and even if I did know that, I didn't know how you could go about doing it. This guitar was, immaculate. Loved it. He ended up snapping the neck. So I put it in the case, and I went about the military, got an acoustic, and I just carried that with me everywhere I went throughout my military career. When he passed away, we were going through the garage. We were looking at some stuff that was in there that was my dad's. My mom was trying to decide whether or not to get rid of it or to hold on to it. And I saw the guitar case, and I got excited because, I knew in today's day and age that I was going to be able to replace that neck, and I'd probably be able to play this guitar again. Well, unbeknownst to me, during my many travels, they kept the case. I don't know why, but the guitar got disposed of. And I was really kind of disappointed about that. So my wife hooked me up. She gets me, Ibanez RG. I want to say it was the 600. It was nice. It was really nice. I had all the bells and whistles. It was exactly what I was looking for. It sounded exactly like the one I had as a kid that I played for years. Crunch, tone, everything. And then, I started digging around, and I go to Guitar Center, and they had Les Pauls, right? And that's what every guitar player wants. They want a Les Paul. Well, most every guitar player. That's kind of like the apex dream guitar. So I picked one up, and I finally found one that I like, and I loved it. And it was the 2012 Studio T Faded in red. I love this guitar, but I had to unfortunately part with it at about the 43-day mark. And here's why. If you Google "my Les Paul won't stay in tune," you'll find page upon page upon page upon page of people saying, hey, my Les Paul, my multi-$1,000 guitar will not stay in tune. And there's many reasons behind it. Some people say it's bullshit. Some people, I don't know. So I'm just going to have, we're just going to have one of those agree to disagree things. Due to the 17, 18 degree headstock angle on Les Pauls and the way that they make the nut, it results in certain strings not staying in tune. And I experienced this firsthand. And I talked to my buddy about it, and been, my best friend. I was talking to him about it. I was talking to my wife, and anybody that knows me knows that I like to spend money. Love to spend money. Like, I and the question finally came up, hey, are you just looking for a reason to buy another guitar? As if I needed one. But the answer was no. And here's why I can say that. Because I had previously, before we got to this point, I had purchased a 2019 Studio, weight relieved, and it was the Sweetwater exclusive with the Cherry Burst. Now, I didn't like the pickup combination on it. It sounded muddy, it sounded lacking, and I think a lot of that had to do with the chambered weight reduction too. It didn't have the balls that the Studio T had. So I literally had it like a week, and it didn't matter, what combination I used on the Marshall code right there. It didn't matter it didn't matter how I futzed with the knobs, played with the switches. It didn't sound. It didn't have that PAF sound to it. The patented applied for sound. It sounded weak. It sounded thin. So I sent it back. But I can tell you this, that 2019, I could Billy Joe Armstrong strum that sucker, and it stayed in tune. So I guess Gibson took note. I don't know. Or maybe they didn't, because I'm still seeing people that are, have some, and they're still saying the same thing. So maybe I just got a good batch on that one. So back to that one. I'm like, okay, this is the sound I like, but I'm driving myself nuts trying to keep it in tune. And my buddy and my wife both say. So I take a video. I'm like, listen, I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about, So I take a video, and as I'm futzing with it, and I'm tuning it, and I'm playing it, right around the 43-second mark on this video that I'm sending to my buddy, you can hear a very distinct tink. There it is. It's binding on the nut. And I'm more than happy to post up this video in response to this, if people want to see it, so that you can see what I'm talking about. But it was binding on the nut. There's no other way to put it. So I call a local luthier here, and I say, hey, this is what's going on. He says, yeah, it's an easy fix. It's going to be about $200 for an easy fix to file it down. What? So yeah, he says, I'm going to file it down, and that should do it. I'll file down the bridge, and that should do it. Well, that's going to be about $200. So I call Guitar Center, who I managed to get this used through, and Guitar Center says, it's a manufacturer's defect. We kind of feel like that you were aware of it, so it's not really covered under our warranty. The extended warranty that I bought on a used guitar. I was like, wow, that sucks. Well, how much is it going to cost to fix it? About $150. Ouch. Because we're going to replace the nut. Ouch. So being disabled military, retired military, and disabled, I'm on a fixed income. My whole house is, with the exception of my wife that works, but, I'm on a fixed income. I only get so much per month. So that being said, I already spent $900 on this thing. I can't really drop another $200, $150 on it. It didn't seem logical. So I ended up returning it. Now, the staff at Denton Guitar Center was awesome about it. They questioned it at first, and then 3 or 4 people grabbed it, played it, and, they were like, oh yeah, there it is. We can hear it. Like, we can hear it going flat. Okay, so I'm not crazy at this point. I traded it for an ESP, the ESP that you just saw, the EC-1000 FM in Amber Sunburst, with the Seymour Duncans in it. And I can tell you right now, it took me a while to kind of fall in love with this Gibson. Actually, okay, that's not a lie. It took me about a day to fall in love with it. But within about an hour, futzing around with the knobs, playing with the settings on the code amp, because the Seymour Duncans are they're really aggressive. They'll come at you hot and heavy on the bottom end. So playing with that, I ended up with the PAF sound that I was looking for. I ended up with some really hot pickups that'll squeal when I want them to, sound clean when I need them to, everything around the bridge. No weight relief. The thing, I think I weighed it, was like 11.5 pounds. Good to go. You know, solid mahogany. The only difference is it's just not made in America. Honestly, would I do it again? Yeah. So I'm kind of hoping maybe this will make its way to Gibson, and Gibson will take note and say, hey, we have a real problem here. So, you know, we're making these guitars for the working man, and the working man just can't afford to keep buying our guitars or afford to upkeep them because we're doing poor quality. Now, I have heard that Gibson's moving to zero nut technology and things like that, and I'd love to see some of that. I'd love to actually experience that. But as of right now, I'm probably not going to do it. But what I can tell you is this. If you are experiencing this problem, you are not crazy. It doesn't matter how much you post on the internet. It does exist. I have experienced it firsthand. If you were looking for the same kind of quality, you know, and you're willing to not have that Gibson name on the headstock, I would highly suggest you go to the ESP LTD EC, you know, EC-1000s, any of those series, and do it. And if you don't like the Seymour Duncans or you don't like the ESP pickups, you know, you can always grab some Gibson pickups. I believe that the routing is the same on these, and you can pop it in there. But you know, the headstock on the ESP is probably like 10 to 12 degrees versus 17, 18 degrees on the Gibson, and I promise you probably won't have as many problems in keeping it in tune. As a matter of fact, you know, with the ESP locking tuners, I think I maybe once a day, since brand new strings, kind of have to, you know, throw a tuning on it. But I tune it, you know, I stay and drop tunings all the time. You know, fast neck, you know, I just really can't say enough good things about it. So yeah, I traded my Gibson for an ESP. I have my reasons. Feel free to disagree with me. Feel free to tell me I'm crazy. Feel free to send me instant messages, you know, and tell me, hey, you know, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, I'm the one that has to play it. You don't. So if you disagree with me, feel free to drop it in the comments below. Please be respectful. You know, I'm not going to answer anything that's not disrespectful. I'm probably going to delete it. But yeah, so as you heard, I love that guitar. And I'll probably continue to use ESPs until Gibson can show me otherwise. So, yeah, I traded a Gibson Les Paul for an ESP EC-1000. And I don't regret it.